Changing minds one thought at a time.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Change Your Minds Online. How are you doing today, Jessica?
I'm doing awesome. How are you today, Akina?
I am great. I am super excited to introduce one of my colleagues from the book that we wrote, Dr. Samantha Madelstein. Dr. Samantha, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you today.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Well, I am a psychologist and an author. I have an ebook on my website, and we co-authored this wonderful book, Motherhood, Dreams, and Success. I live and work in the Washington, D.C. area, but with the beauty of the Internet, my business and practice is all over the world. I have clients basically all over the United States and some internationally as well. I help people really focus on holistic success and happiness and how they can choose to be happy, radically happy and fulfilled in their life pretty much all the time.
That is wonderful. You know, I was so excited when you told me about the topic of self-sabotage because, you know, I have dealt with that in my personal career myself, and I'm so interested to hear about your strategies and how to combat that. Can you tell us some about that?
So, you know, to be honest, self-sabotage is something that we all do. It affects every single person. A lot of people think, oh, no, I don't do that. I don't sabotage myself. But if you really look at some of the behaviors that people have and the things that they do, you can see subtle ways. And sometimes it's very obvious, but also a lot of people do it very subtly. So there's subtle ways that people will sabotage themselves. So, you know, sometimes they may prevent themselves from getting a job promotion. Sometimes they may be in a relationship that is actually a really good one and then do things to cause the relationship to end, or, you know, they may get in their own way in terms of building their business or, you know, growing their career. And in extreme cases, I've actually seen people and worked with people who have gotten themselves fired from their jobs, disrupted their relationships, and you know, and even I see depression primarily as almost the ultimate in self-sabotage because you are destroying yourself personally in that particular instance.
So what do you think about that, Jessica?
Yeah, that's very interesting that you say that. And, you know, a lot of times, in depression, and I'm a psychologist as well, so my background is in psychology, and I do know that there are times when depression can be caused by some form of hormonal imbalances or some form of mental illness, but most of the time, you know, we can control our emotions and we choose how we feel. And, you know, oftentimes if we're not choosing to be happy, we're choosing to create negative emotions that weaken our body, like fear, like, you know, like sadness, and we're choosing to respond to that way, then we are sabotaging ourselves, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, and even then, yes, there is sort of the chemical component to depression and anxiety. However, there's also a lot of it is then how you then think about it, how you think about yourself, whatever your belief systems. What do you think about yourself? And it's so easy. I am a psychologist, but I've also suffered from depression, so I know this personally. And it is as easy as holding on to, like, you know, they say if you pull on the thread of a sweater on the, you know, you can completely unravel the entire thing. I see it similarly. You know, you start with one piece and one thought, and then it can completely unravel you where you are because you just keep pulling yourself and feeding it. It feeds on itself, and it's very destructive. And a lot of people self-medicate, which is also sabotaging, in order to feel better, but it really is more destructive. It's not helping. It's actually making things worse.
Yes, I totally relate. I mean, when I was younger, thanks to my lovely self-sabotaging and self-medicating, I have like a $10,000 Barbie collection. I have clothes all over the place, and
Mm-hmm.
so things that I don't necessarily need anymore. But at that time, I just jumped into whatever my friends were jumping into to make myself feel better. And in the end, I had to do the work to get myself out of it. Those things really didn't help me at all.
Well, and that's a great point, Akina. I mean, part of the thing is that people believe that stuff is going to make you feel better, that stuff is going to make you happy, that if you have, the great relationship like the neighbor next door, or, the fast car that Joe Smith down the street has, or the great house, or whatever it is, that those things are going to make you happy. Well, if you look at a lot of people who are, quote, successful in their lives, you will see that a lot of them are really miserable. They're not happy at all. And so, this is one of the things that I try to help teach people, is that happiness is not stuff outside of you. It is everything. All of it is about what's inside of you. It's about the meaning that you have in your life. It's about the relationships that you have with people. It's about what is really important to you. Having just a great career is important, but it's not everything. It's only really just 20% of your life. The other 80%, if you don't focus on it, if you don't pay attention to it, and all you have is just a great career or a great business, it's going to feel so empty. And that's not going to make you happy.
So now, what do you recommend as the other 80%? What do you feel falls into that category?
Everything else. I mean, it's your spiritual life, it's your physical health, it's your relationships with the people who are important to you, whether that's your kids or your significant other or your family of origin. All of those things. It's the rest of your life. And a lot of people neglect all of those other areas, or many of those other areas, and don't take care of themselves. They think that working really hard and making a living is all that there is to life. And, in my opinion, you're missing the boat if that's what you really think. For me, my business, I do what I do because I believe it's my purpose. I truly believe that I'm here to serve others and to help people truly understand what it means to be happy and how to connect and do those things in your life. I get that, and I know that. I know that that's what I'm here to do. However, my daughter and my family are always on the top of my priority list, always. And everything that I do, I'm always paying attention to the impact that it has on my daughter and on my family. And if I have an opportunity, my family doesn't live with me. They don't live anywhere near me. But if I have a chance to spend some time with my family or work an extra day, I'm going to choose to go spend some time with my family, because in the final analysis, that's what's really important. And those are the choices that I make every day in my life, because people are important to me, not stuff.
That's awesome.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're saying that really, if we're not choosing our priorities and really working our schedule around our priorities, that can be a form of self-sabotage.
Yes, if you are neglecting what's important, solely focusing on one thing, you will be sabotaging your relationships. You're sabotaging yourself. You're sabotaging what's really important, and you're not going to feel great about it. And that's why, again, it's really about holistic success, allowing yourself to be wholly fulfilled in all areas of your life. But it comes from, there's so many reasons. There are as many reasons as there are people on this planet as to why people sabotage themselves. And a lot of it comes from, how we're raised, or the interactions we have with people, with our environment, with schools, with teachers, with peers, with family, with everything, and the belief systems that get created as a result of that. And those are the reasons why people sabotage themselves. And again, some of it's pretty obvious, and other things are very, very subtle. But it's important to I think one of the very first things that I always tell people, one of the most important things to be able to do is to realize that you're doing it. to recognize that, you know, you're getting in your own way, that you're stopping the plane from taking off, that you're not allowing yourself to have success in other areas of your life or even in your career, if that's where you find yourself sabotaging yourself a lot. There's so many people, for example, who have very very interesting concepts around money, for example. People are raised with the idea that money is the root of all evil, or that, you know, if you are successful and powerful, that you're basically essentially demonic and going to hurt other people because they see, you know, big corporations and, you know, politicians taking advantage of people and think, well, all powerful, all rich people, that's how they are. Well, if you're striving to run a business and to try to be successful in your life, or even if you're in a career that comes with power, you're going to get in your own way quite a lot because subconsciously you're thinking, oh, I don't want to be like this person, or, oh, I don't want to be like that person, and you will stand in the way of achieving success. And so it's important to understand where these things might come from so that you can work through what it is that you're doing and stop yourself from doing it.
So what are some ways that you can identify? And I know I've heard this before, and I really agree with you, and I kind of call it bad scripting, and that's kind of that's the terminology I think I've heard it best explained, that, you know, every one of us, through our set of experiences, we develop a certain ideas of ourselves, and we have different opinions of things, whether, like you said, it's money, and whether or not it's relationships, and whether or not for, you know, if we're looking at a person of the opposite sex in a certain way, or whether or not, you know, our careers, or we're looking at what our role should be in a way that may not be productive. You know, how can we go back and fix that? You know, all those issues in the past, if we were kind of born into a family that might not have taught us what we think is the best way now to be successful.
I think it really comes, first of all, from realizing that these things have an impact on you and being able to pay attention to what you're doing. I think one of the most important things is self-talk. It's the things that you say to yourself, whether they're positive or negative. I read somewhere recently in doing research for my book that I'm writing that I think it's about we have between 60 and 70,000 thoughts a day. Can you imagine 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day? About 80 to 85% of those thoughts are just automatic in the sense that they're habitual. They just come without you really sort of paying attention to them. And probably about 85 to 90% of those are negative. And I haven't quite figured out yet why it is that as a species where we seem to be pre-wired to notice the negative more so than the positive. It seems like we've drifted quicker and easier than being positive. Being positive takes work. Being negative doesn't seem to. And so it's about the stories we tell ourselves, the dialogue that we have with ourselves day in and day out. And if, you know, 80 to 90% of the things that we're saying to ourselves each and every single day is negative, well, that's going to be one great big obstacle in the pathway. And so it comes from changing that dialogue. We have to basically rewire the brain to have new foundations, new pathways, new directions for your thoughts to put you in a different place. That's one of the main things.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And, you know, we talked about this in some capacities on the show before, and in many ways, you know, Akita and I have both said that we've both, you know, used to come from a place where we didn't think about ourselves positively. We focused on what we couldn't do or what we thought we would not be successful at rather than focusing on what we wanted to create. And for me, it took really about a year or so before I was really able to completely change my mindset. And I think I have completely changed my mindset now. And that's not to say that things don't still come up, but for me it was really a process of daily gratitude and affirmations. So one of the things that three things I did was every day writing in a gratitude journal. And just when you are constantly focusing on what's going well in your life, you start to see more and more. So if you take time every morning or night and you're looking at what is going good and what am I thankful for, you realize that your life really is going well, no matter how hard it may seem. And it may not always be easy. There may be some days where you don't see a lot to be thankful for, but you always can find something. And, just that affirmations of looking in the mirror and saying things like, I am loved, I am beautiful, I am successful, I am easily creating the career that I want, I am easily bringing into my life or attracting the relationships that I want. And then the third thing is actually a prayer that my mentor actually taught me, and it says that, to help, Lord, please help me to see myself the way you see me. And those are really the three things that I did every day that helped me to really change that scripting and take my mindset and, like you said, rewire it. And it doesn't work the same way it does before. And, we do have this very powerful gift that if we choose to at any given time, we can start that process of changing the way we think. And if we change the way we think, we do change our life.
Yeah, it definitely starts with making the choice to do that. And the reason why I have my Facebook page and the community that I have is to do exactly what you're talking about. So, all day long, every single day, there are positive things that get posted on my page to help people refocus and rewire and change the view that they have, to the lens through which they see, so that they can see something different, so they can see something more positive. I post a mantra every single day to help, again, for people to have something else to focus on than the negativity that rocks and rolls in their brain. And oftentimes when I work with my clients, one of the things that I often have them do, and this is what I do each and every single morning when I wake up, I have a moment of gratitude every single morning. And it starts off my day and helps me focus on how I want to see my day, what I want my day to be like. And every morning I'm grateful just for the fact that I'm alive. If only it's just that, for that and for everything else in my life. And every single night before I go to sleep, I again have a moment of gratitude. And each person that I share that with and have them do the same thing, it just starts the process. If you wake up every single morning and it's like, oh, it's Monday, or oh, I can't believe I have to go to work today, or, you spend then the entire day trying to get yourself the energy that you need to have a positive day. But if you start your day in a positive space with, thank you, I'm grateful, I appreciate, and here's my intention for today, it makes such a huge difference from where you go for the rest of the day, no matter what happens.
Yeah, Samantha, I had a similar story actually recently. I always used to have the same habit where the first thing I did in the morning was check my social media and check my email. I think a lot of people can relate, right? We have our cell phones, they're within our arm's reach from where we sleep, and we use them for our alarm, and it goes off. We pick up our phone to put the alarm off, and instinctively we just check our social media, and it's the first thing we do. Well, I had an experience recently where, I picked up my phone. That was the first thing I did, which was my habit. And what I saw was an alert from my bank account saying there was an issue with my bank account. And the bank account was essentially frozen, and there was some sort of fraudulent activity, and I had no access to my money. And I went into panic mode. And because I felt terrible, and that carried out through the whole rest of the day. I was anxious, and I was it was a completely unsuccessful day. Nothing went well. And, the reality of it is that I had other accounts with money in it, so it really wasn't the end of the world. And it took a couple days, but were resolved. But it was such
But that's what you saw immediately. That's yeah, exactly.
But when you start your day in chaos, your day ends in chaos, and that chaos carries throughout your day, and you don't really know what opportunities you're missing, because maybe if you were in a better place, in a better state, you might have met someone who would bring $1 million into your business. So you have to be at your best all the time. And that's why you need to start your morning off the right way. So since then, I actually no longer use my my phone for my alarm. I actually went out and bought a actual alarm clock, which is one of those prehistoric things we used to have as kids.
Yeah.
Put that by my and now I am in a little danger of hitting the snooze, but now I actually use that, and then the first thing I do before I even get out of bed is to pray and to meditate and to say my prayers of gratitude. And when you start your day off in that way, everything else winds up working itself out.
It does, and the thing is that even when things do happen, it's about how you look at it and how you see it. And I think that if you are in a stronger place to begin with, if you're in a more positive place to begin with, when challenges happen, you're not completely knocked on your butt, basically. You are able to stand back up. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's about resilience. I think being more positive gives you the ability to be more resilient. Negativity is sickening. It damages your immune system and it makes you weaker. And being more positive helps to make you stronger and more resilient. And again, it helps you to rise up whenever challenges happen. People often say to me, well, it must be easy for you to say that, happiness is a choice. Well, this hasn't happened or that hasn't happened or the next thing. And I say, first of all, you don't know anything about me or my life. But secondly, I know so many people who have had unspeakable trauma and horrible circumstances and things that have happened to them in their life. And yet still they choose to be faithful and thankful and appreciative and grateful for their life and to be positive. And it helps them to heal, and it helps them to be strong, and it helps them to bounce back from challenges that keep coming. I mean, life doesn't stop. It keeps coming. Life is not always going to just be rosy. There are thorns that are going to show up in there, and it's about how you're going to deal with it. What are you going to do? When the going gets tough and the stuff hits the fan, what are you going to do? Are you just going to sit there and feel helpless, or are you going to get back up? And, yes, we're here to support each other and help each other up, but you have to be willing to get up and stand up and rise up and be strong.
Yes. I have a story about that myself. Last year this time, my father, we found out he had cancer. And when my sister found him in Colorado, he went from 230 pounds to 124 pounds. She
Wow.
just basically took him home and took him back to Texas and put him immediately in the best hospital she could find. And after 3 tests, they found out that he had prostate cancer. And they told him that his number was 800.
Wow.
And all he did was pray. He went through of course, he went through the chemo, the radiation, and everything, but he basically prayed and had a positive attitude. Within 3 months, he was down to a 2 from 800. And, if he had just sunk into it and said, I'm done, he probably still would be at 800 right now. Now he is 1 point away from being in remission. He works on a regular basis, and my father's 77 and has a job. And he works, he volunteers, he, cuts trees and does, landscaping. And this is somebody who almost a year ago was supposed to be in stage 4. It's just all about the positivity and how you look at the outlook. And once you realize that whatever it is not going to defeat you, then that mindset takes over, and you can do anything.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, you can. And again, it's all about how you look at things, how you see things, and when challenges happen, what do you do then? My daughter's grandmother died recently, and she was diagnosed with pancreatic and liver cancer 2 years ago. And the fact that she lived for over 2 years, with this disease, which most people die of within weeks or months, is in and of itself its own miracle. And, it just speaks to how strong she was, both physically and mentally, to be able to go through all of that treatment and be successful. I'm so grateful. As sad as we are that she's gone, I am so grateful that we had 2 more years with her, that my daughter had 2 more years to know her, to love her, to get to know her. But had she given up immediately, then we wouldn't have had that time. And so, yes, I know that, and it's how you see yourself and how you see your journey is so, so critical in our lives.
Yes. Yes. Well, Dr. Samantha, do you have one takeaway that you would like for our guests to get about self-sabotage?
I think the important thing to know is that we all do it, and you can, if you pay attention to what you're doing, you can see when you are doing it, and that positive self-talk, positive affirmations, gratitude are all ways that you can combat it, to challenge it, to change it, to reshape the way that you think, to get out of the way, and to choose happiness. Those are the most important things that you can do in order to change yourself from self-sabotage to choosing happiness.
Yeah, and on that note, too, this reminds me of this quote, and I don't remember who said it, but something to the effect of, if you change the way you think about things, the things you think about change. And it really is true. We do have the power to create change in our lives, and it really is starting with us and looking inside and figuring out where we are, where we want to be, and thinking about ourselves being the best version of ourselves who's already living that life. And then when we do that, it will come. We will attract the people and resources we need to make it happen.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at, and this is why I always say to people, it doesn't matter who you are. This can affect anybody. I mean, I look at celebrities and politicians and even some of the most powerful people, and I can look at them and see where and how they are sabotaging themselves. And they're supremely talented. They look like they have everything, and yet still you can see how they're undermining themselves and sabotaging themselves, and in one way or the other destroying their life. And it's about, again, I don't think they realize what they're doing. And some do, and they still find it hard to stop themselves. And so, again, it's really important to be accountable to yourself and to recognize that you have the power to change it. Nobody else does. You have the power to change it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to end our call tonight. We're right at 11:30, so we do need to close the call, but absolutely. Ending on we have the power is a phenomenal way. So thank you so much, Samantha, for being on our call, and Dr. Tina for setting up this the call. We had to change the time at the last minute. Thank you, Tina, for getting all that done. I hope everyone has a great day. Yeah, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. God bless. We love you. Ms. King, is there anything you want to add before we close the call?
If the words that Dr. Samantha spoke to you about today touched you, remember you can find it on Blog Talk Radio at Change Your Minds Online. You can also find it at changeyourmindsonline.com. And, of course, please reach out to Dr. Samantha on her page, Dr. Samantha on Facebook. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we appreciate you greatly.
My pleasure.
Have a great day, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.